Hi, guys. Welcome back to Sports with Mono and Mono. It's December 2nd, 2023. Here with Eli, as you can see. And we got a great show for us today. We're going to have a very special guest on, Ben Fennell. And he's going to be joining us in a little bit. He's a producer for Thursday Night Football and other games, and Emmy award-winning
Yes.
producer, I may add. So
Yeah, Emmy
he'll
award-winning
be,
producer, editor,
yeah, he'll
CBS
be
producer, and everything like that.
He'll be joining us from Houston, where he's going to be doing the game on Sunday with the Denver Broncos and the Texans. So,
Yes.
see if he can give us some insight on who's going to win that when Eli and I make our picks.
Yeah. So hopefully we'll make our picks for that one. Hopefully it'll be a good win for it'll be a great game. Definitely a great
Yeah.
1 o'clock hour game to watch. Should be fun and great to have him on later on.
Yep. So great. So let's jump right into it until Ben can join us. Of course, we start off with our monologue every week, and that's sponsored, of course, by Coriano Trucking of Summerhill, New York. And I just want to really touch base on something that just came out. I think it was yesterday. The Sports Illustrated Sportsman of the Year award was handed out. And to be quite honest with you, I couldn't disagree more with the selection. I don't know what the basis of it was, but Deion Sanders is the Sports Illustrated Sportsman of the Year. And this award usually meant something. It was somebody that contributed and was prominent in whatever sport he was there. And this one to me didn't make a lot of sense, to be quite honest with you. This has nothing to do with Deion Sanders himself, because as we've talked about before, he was a great football player. And listen, we'll get back to that in a minute because we have Ben Fennell with us. Hey, Ben.
How's it going, guys?
How's it going? Thank you for joining us.
Absolutely. I'm just hanging out here in Houston, about to head over to NRG to prepare for our game tomorrow. What's going on?
Excellent.
That is great.
We're really happy to have you on. Really happy to have you on, Ben.
Excited to talk some shop with you guys.
Yeah.
Great. So listen, let's do some introduction here. I mean, you got quite a resume, sir. Philadelphia guy from day one. Are those your roots?
No, not at all. I'm from Northeast Pennsylvania, which I was kind of straddled in between of New York and Philadelphia fan bases, and wanted nothing to do with either of them. My school at Drexel brought me down to Philly, and I started to develop a bit of a soft spot for Philly sports. And then my post-college career, I took some jobs with Philadelphia Eagles that I've been with for about 9-10 seasons now. And they've been a great organization to work for. Obviously, we won a Super Bowl, went to another Super Bowl. But in addition to that, like you had mentioned, my pretty wordy business card right now, I do a lot of different jobs throughout the year. NFL Network stuff, doing Senior Bowl Combine Draft. I'm on the road here at CBS doing Sunday games. I'm on the road Thursday night doing a Thursday night game. So the season gets pretty busy. The business card gets a little wordy, but it's work hard, play hard. I pretty much just work on my tour card in the summer. So it's all about balance in life. But at the end of the day, it's just a lot of football, and life could be worse, right?
Hey, Ben, that's such a great point. When you say I know you're covering the game, the Denver-Houston game this week, and I think Iron Eagles, one of your partners, right? What does it take to prepare every week for a game? Like,
right.
How far in advance do you know where you're going, and when do you arrive in that city, and what's the process behind that?
Yeah, so just really quick, Thursday Night Football, we had our slate for the entire season, which was rare for me. So we were preparing for games in November, December, in the middle of the summer. We're already starting to talk about ideas and storylines and things you want to spend money on. Take time to prepare, whether it's specialty shoots or player interviews or things like that. So if you want to do something grandiose, typically you have to get way ahead of it. Now, the Sunday schedules, they're typically week to week. You know what inventory of games your network's going to have, but we don't get our assignment typically till the week before. So then it's just a mad dash to prepare, which every week kind of takes on its own personality as far as if you had done the teams before. But But in this industry, you really can't fake it. You can't fake the enthusiasm. It's a grind. You have to love what you do. You have to love the preparation. You have to love the gearing up your team to do the broadcast and going in with all these bullets in the chamber, ready to go on the broadcast and loaded with information. If you think that's work, you'll drown. So we have such great people around us with good enthusiasm that love what we do. Believe me, we're not on the assembly line. We're not down in the coal mines. We're very aware of that. We're very aware how privileged and blessed we are to work such a cool industry. And that's really how it goes. It's really a week-to-week kind of crash course in preparing for your game. You don't want to get too far ahead because you want to retain the information that in the moment. So Thursday night, we have Patriots Steelers this week. We know we're going to Vegas the week after. We know we're going to LA the week after that. So you can get ahead, but you don't want to get too far ahead too. This is a day-to-day league. And just when you think you're preparing for the Rams for 3 weeks from now, there's a major injury or a firing or something happens that you're preparing all over again. So it's really a week-to-week kind of crash course. And it starts Monday morning with watching film and reading the headlines. And then you slowly work your way to the end of the week, getting onto site or wherever you're going. You watch practice, you talk to players and coaches, you have your production meetings. And there's a lot of moving parts involved, but it's really a week-to-week kind of preparation. And then you blink, you get home and you do it all again.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's an awesome backstory. Did you always know you wanted to do this? Were you a sports guy from when you were a little kid?
I was a sports junkie. I love sports, over passionate sports fan growing up, played all the sports. But what was different about me was I was very much a realist earlier than normal young males in understanding I had a cap to my sports excellence. Now I was a pretty athletic guy. But I'd sit there and watch games in 7th and 8th grade, not enamored at the players, but seeing all the people around the game and seeing the ball boys and the guy cleaning the court and all the coaches sitting there and the announcers. I'm saying, who are all those people? Now, I'm not going to be 6'8" and can jump through the building. So my chances of being on the court were a little slim. And I'm still working on my tour card and still working on some sports things here and there. But I just wanted to be involved with the game. And I said, what are all those other people doing? So then I started looking into careers in sports very early on, studied sport management at Drexel, did an internship with the Sixers, an internship with the Knicks, eventually fell in love with football and TV at NFL Films, and that's kind of all she wrote. But before I got to films, I had never edited a thing in my life. And I really didn't know deep X's and O's football. So that was where I got to people that knew more than me. And it's so important to surround yourself with people that you admire and people that, for all intents and purposes, are smarter than you, because you don't know what you don't know in this industry. So that's where I learned this marriage of TV and X's and O's and how to kind of put them together.
Wow.
That's awesome. And listen, I wanted just to give a little quick story because I know you worked with NFL Films, and I had an opportunity one time to spend an entire Philadelphia Eagles game against the Vikings in Philadelphia with Steve Sable, former president of NFL Films. And, I'm just like you. We talked for 3 hours and he goes, I can't believe how much you know. And I was only in my 20s at the time. And he was such a great, great guy and so hospitable to me. And, that's my connection to NFL Films.
Yeah. I mean, what him and his dad did at Films, it's an amazing company, amazing building. It's really like a football museum, and it's very casual too. I just love it's very much like a ma and pa company. And they've wanted to maintain that. Obviously, as you get into the 2000s, the corporate players get involved, and it has taken on its form of a business. But with Steve Sable and his dad and their passion and enthusiasm for the game, and then just their unique mind and how they look at the game, they're just very, very interesting people. I've had the privilege of hanging out on a Sunday on the couch watching games with Steve Sable and eating a slice of pizza before he unfortunately passed away. So I've had some great memories as well, but it's not so much you're learning the X's and O's when you're watching it with Steve. You're seeing and hearing all these analogies and different, metaphors for things he's seeing and hearing on the field. And obviously that's been related into NFL Films content for decades and decades, from all those great, narrations of John Facenda and, all those great analogies you hear in the voiceovers. Someone's mind is coming up with that. And many times it was Steve Sable.
Wow.
That's so great because when you mentioned John Facenda, that was the voice of NFL football back then. It was
Yeah.
great. I loved it. I loved it.
Absolutely. Could you talk about the Thursday night football game that you were at? Like, what were your thoughts on the Seahawks Cowboys game? I'm a huge Seahawks fan. Obviously, didn't go our way with the victory, but what were your thoughts on the game?
Well, it was an exciting game, obviously. Anytime you have no punts in an NFL game, something's working and lighting up the scoreboard. It's a crazy game for a TV crew with all the points and packages. That means you have rollouts to commercials and a lot of plays to break down. But it was an exciting game. I think the Seahawks are a very competitive team. I think Geno Smith's one of the more exciting passers in the NFL. I think they're finding their way through the last month, losing Kenneth Walker, who just has a little bit more juice and playmaking ability than Charbonnet, who's still a power back, but runs a little bit blind at times and can kind of leave some meat out there as far as the big plays. But I thought you got classic Geno last night with his irrational confidence as a thrower, as you saw pretty much throughout the night. And
Right.
That Cowboys secondary can be picked on. I know Deron Bland and Trayvon Diggs are known for putting their foot in the ground and breaking on routes, but they can get beat over the top if you have time, because we all know that Cowboys pass rush is pretty vaunted as well. But it was an exciting game. It really took the tone of a playoff game. It felt like the Cowboys were a division winner and the Seahawks were the wild card team coming in. And that's the kind of game you get where a team's going to scratch and claw right to the end. And, if Tyler Lockett maybe catches that pass that Geno put on his face mask there in the fourth quarter, might have a different story here, and that's the NFL for you. There's a lot of penalties in the game, a lot of close calls in the end zone, a couple reviews in there, but an exciting game. And I think the Seahawks still have some room to grow. I still think they need to develop a little bit more consistent pass rush. I think their offensive line obviously has been in flux with some injuries, but has to improve some talent in some spots as well. But I really like Geno, and I like his story. I don't think he's going to get comeback player of the year 2 years in a row, but I just like to see him continue to have success in this league after obviously being a bit of a punching bag, as we all know, in New York and his previous stops.
Ben, I just wanted to ask, because I know I saw a few interviews. I know you do a few things on YouTube for the Green Bay Packers, right?
Yep.
So I have a friend of mine. He's listening to the show right now, Abe, and he's a diehard Packer fan. So I asked him, is how are they feeling about Jordan Love? And I kind of like him. I think he's developing into a player. He's got some growing pains to get through, but what's your tie with the Packers when you do analysis for those guys?
Well, the Packers, I grew up a passionate sports fan, as I had set up a few minutes ago. The only team I associated allegiance to was the Green Bay Packers. And that's because my mom grew up in the Green Bay in the 1960s. And, that type of impact got, passed down. And I grew up a huge Packers fan. And into my professional career, I started doing some writing. And a lot of my Twitter following and Twitter presence is because of my Packers coverage. I want to say that's almost 75% of how I got off the ground on Twitter was from talking about the Packers. I've kind of taken a back seat from that. I wrote for The Athletic Wisconsin for 3 years. I no longer do that. I'm trying to cut back on it as I'm running out of hours and days in the week now with my CBS and Thursday night and Eagles stuff. I got to make some cuts somewhere, but no, it's been an exciting season for the Packers. Very unpredictable with the new starting quarterback in Jordan Love. I don't know if I love the roster construction around him, considering you have a very young quarterback with very young weapons around him. You don't typically get that formula. Typically, it's a young, low-cost quarterback, and then you surround him with some high-priced veterans. So they went in with a lot of youth, the youngest team in the NFL by a long shot, and you saw those growing pains through much of the first half of the season. From, miscommunications, drops, guys running the wrong routes, just all those typical growing pains. It's a learn on the job business. Some guys are now promising and some guys are kind of falling a little bit. But I like that blank slate of the opportunity young guys get. And you see guys like Jaden Reed emerge, and you see guys like Romeo Doubs emerge. And I love the chances you give young guys to be stars in this league. So I think Jordan Love's had his ups and downs. He's shown enough promise and excitement to get fans on board, I think, for the rest of the season here. But that team has many other issues besides the quarterback position. So I think Jordan Love is obviously the sensationalized conversation right now, as every starting quarterback is, but they need to fix some offensive line. They need to find their left tackle of the future, need to figure out what they're doing with some ancillary parts. Josiah DeGuara, A.J. Dillon were obviously overdrafted, not involved enough. Defense, you need to make some major changes as well. Injuries have been brutal. Drafting has been brutal.
Right.
So that team we could talk about for another 2 hours if you wanted to. But
Yeah.
I like what they've done this year. I don't think their expectations were too high. They're knocking on the doors of the playoffs right now. So we'll see if they can get hot here down the stretch as they've been the last 2 or 3 weeks.
Well, we're New Jersey guys, so we got our own problems in New Jersey right now with the Giants quarterback situation and the whole Jets situation, and obviously the Aaron Rodgers thing. So what do you make of that, the whole Aaron Rodgers situation?
Right. I mean, all their eggs were in the basket of having a competent veteran quarterback for once. So with the second he goes down on the 4th play, it's papers in the air. And I don't know if the doubling and tripling down on Zach Wilson through the last 2 months was the right play for Robert Saleh, but I don't really know who they were going to go get. I was kind of banging the table for them to go sign a Jacoby Brissett and Andy Dalton from Carolina, maybe go get Tannehill from Tennessee. I know he had a little bit of a high cap dollar.
Like that.
Yeah, somebody a little bit more competent, as you clearly had a contending roster. So it just is a bit of a punch in the face to some of the locker room to double and triple down with Zach Wilson. But I get what Saleh was doing. He wanted to instill the confidence that, yes, Zach, you can be the guy for us. We drafted you to be that guy. We're going to throw you the keys. Let's go get it done. So I don't think you wanted to bury the confidence by signing somebody else immediately. But at some point, you have a contending team and you need to do what's right for that locker room. And I think it was just a little bit too late in turning over to Boyle. But at the end of the day, it was all on Aaron Rodgers, and him going down early was just an absolute gut punch. And I don't really know what to make of it or where you go from here. I know Rodgers is trying to practice and play, but might be a little bit too late at this point. So I don't know what he's trying to prove. I know he really wants to play and live up to those expectations that they had when they signed him or traded for him. So he wants to prove everybody right. But at this point in the season, I don't really know what he's trying to get at and what the team thinks they're going to do. So, it will be interesting to follow, but certainly not a season as planned, similar with the other New York team and, paying Daniel Jones and having a promising playoff year last year.
Yeah.
And just really not materializing this year. So, really, really rough sledding in New York this season.
Absolutely.
Well, you know what, Ben? I really I'd like you to talk about, like, you're in this kind of business and you get some inside information and you won an Emmy. What did that mean to you as far as your stature and your profession and the respect that you gained? That's quite huge. Quite huge.
Yeah, I won it actually one of my first years in television with ESPN, working on the college football megacast when that first got announced, when they do the multi-channel coverage of the national championship game. I was working in the coach's film room, which was a really cool experience. But obviously working in sports media to win a national Emmy is the pinnacle. So it's just a great kind of, chip on the shoulder and, a nice paperweight on the shelf there. So, it means a lot to me. I got a plaque as well, and I made sure I gave that to my parents as they have supported me and, helped me through a lot of this process. So it was a bit of a payoff to them as well. And it was a bit of an our kind of achievement, not just a my achievement. So I want to make sure that was felt through all the people that, helped me get to that point. But, the buck doesn't stop there, though. One's nice, but you know what? Two's better, and three's better than that. So it's continuing to have some, goals in mind. And are we all trophy-based, success? No, but it is nice to get that and to be recognized by the industry, and certainly has some merit when you have a trophy like that and an award like that to your name.
That's great.
Absolutely.
And I was reading going through some of your accomplishments and stuff, and you're big on like the research and the statistical aspect of the game. How important is that for your preparation for week after week to
Yeah,
to
I
work.
mean, it is important. And I do take a consideration to it. The analytics world has just obviously blown up over the last 5 or 10 years on the field, off the field, in coverage, in betting, in fantasy football. So the numbers and stats have always been a part of this coverage and research, and it's just growing and growing. So it's really fascinating. But I try to use those in a way to support my other research, which is film based. And a lot of what I do is film based. And that's really where I've carved my niche in this industry of being a film researcher and providing perspective, analysis, opinions off of the film. And that doesn't mean watching on TV. And that doesn't mean, reading the film. It's literally sitting there watching the film. And the film is your football DNA, as we like to say. The film doesn't lie. The eye in the sky doesn't lie. So I like to provide the perspective of the film. And then I kind of get some ancillary thoughts of statistics and trends and analytics off of my film study that I use to support what I saw. So everything is a marriage. Just film thoughts aren't enough. You need to support yourself with other, talking to people, using numbers, using your own eyes. It's a combination of using all that research. So perspective and context, we hear a lot of times in this industry, is really important when you're just presenting numbers. You can kind of form and manipulate numbers, especially these days, as there is just a explosion of analytics. So anything you want to find and support, there's a number for you out there. But if you just presented that number plain, there's very little context. So I think everything as far as research is a marriage. And I really like to support it with film and those statistical numbers.
Yeah, and I could see you're very into the whole graphical presentation of a show, which for the average fan is awesome, right? We find out facts about things we didn't know about, and I think that's where your research comes into play, and it enhances the game.
Yeah, I know I use the term marriage a lot, but that's what I was saying at films, of the marriage of knowing X's and O's,
Right,
and then presenting it to the viewer. So you can be a football junkie. There's plenty of football experts out there. Do they know how to present it to the average viewer on TV? Not always. And then there's people that are great graphic experts and, digital nerds and know what they're doing with computers that don't know a thing about football. So it's having that marriage of knowing the game, knowing some technology, and how to present it properly in a way that fans, viewers, audiences can absorb and digest, which is tricky at times because this game is detailed, this game is complicated. And if the average viewer is here, I know this much. Well, Bill Walsh knows that much.
That's
But
right.
does the average fan need to know everything up to Bill Walsh's knowledge? No. So it's, kind of picking and choosing those battles on what you think the national audience and fans can absorb. And obviously every audience is different. There are some that are film gurus that want to know a little bit deeper stuff. And then there's national audiences that you have to be a little bit more vanilla with how you present some things. But certainly combining the football knowledge with the visuals and graphics, that's what I do. And that's kind of the niche I've carved for myself.
No, it's very,
Yeah.
very impressive, though. No question about it. Hey, Ben, I wanted to ask you about, because I saw you did a lot of when you first got out of school, doing a lot of volunteer stuff, and to me that means a lot to me when you become successful in your business and you do volunteer work. I mean, you did something in South Africa for sports, physical education and so forth. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, working in football is obviously a seasonal job. It's seasonal by its nature. So when I first got in this industry, I really took advantage of my off seasons and wanted to travel. I had some friends that also liked to travel and some friends that were kind of passionate in giving back and finding a way to help and contribute to this world while also seeing this world. So what better way than to kind of do a volunteer program abroad? And there was one in South Africa, a sport development program, which essentially we serve as physical education teachers for schools that can't afford a whole physical education department. So we would go in and essentially give these teachers breaks. We don't have a lot of equipment. We didn't have a lot of materials, but we know obviously our Americanized physical education system from how we grew up. We tried to implement a lot of that to the kids, and certainly challenges and social and economic down there, but just a great perspective of, seeing different places in the world and how they live and operate, and, trying to give back while you do it. So I've stopped traveling a little bit in my off seasons. I've committed to the golf membership the last few seasons as the traveling got a little tiresome, but spending 6 weeks in South Africa, Cape Town is definitely one of my top cities. I would highly recommend going for any American or anybody looking for an interesting vacation abroad or an African vacation. It was really, really unique. On top of my volunteer stuff, South Africa is just unique with, it's penguins down there, elephants, lions, safaris, black rhinos, beautiful coastline. We stayed on a place called Muizenberg, which is a surfing capital of South Africa. Table Mountain is obviously there. They had the World Cup, a decade or two ago there. So it's a very democratic and Western city as well. Johannesburg on the other side is a little bit different, but most of my time was in Cape Town, which was really unique. But like I had said, this industry, you have to work hard, play hard. Right now, I'm working 7 days a week. I don't have a minute to myself. I try to make that balance up in the summer. So just like when I had first started and doing travels in the summer, I try to balance my life out. When it's football season, it's go, 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 nose to the grindstone. It's work, work, work. You got to make that up somewhere else in life. So traveling kind of took up my time earlier. Now I'm playing a little bit of golf and relaxing as I'm getting a little bit older. But that experience was a lot of fun.
Wow.
Oh,
That is
terrific.
pretty incredible.
Yeah.
And the story's incredible. And tomorrow you have the big game with Denver and Houston. Can you tell us a little bit about that? What are your thoughts on the game and upcoming predictions before tomorrow?
Well, I am just smitten to go see CJ Stroud again. I saw him down here a few weeks ago against Tampa, and that shootout with Baker Mayfield, that was a lot of fun. I loved him at Ohio State, was my quarterback one all day long. I have plenty of receipts to show you that. So I just am over the moon about his success and how great he's looked as a rookie. Very, very unique to have this type of success as a rookie quarterback, throwing the ball to the intermediate deep parts of the field, seeing the game really, really quick, his poise, his leadership, excellent off play action, really, really accurate. This kid's doing a lot of really unique things for a player at his stage. And the Texans, like the Packers, really didn't surround him with a lot of veterans. They went out and got Robert Woods, but outside of that, that was about it. They spent some money on Devin Singletary, but it's great to see Nico Collins and Tank Dell kind of emerge and grow with him, which is a lot of fun to watch, even with Dameon Pierce being injured here and there as well. So, but the formula I do like with the Texans, stud left tackle and Laramie Tunsil, stud guard and Shaq Mason. You have a young quarterback in there, spend money on the offensive line, which the Texans have the highest paid offensive line room in the NFL. So I love that formula. Would like a little bit more veteran players around them, but we'll see if the Texans maybe go spend some money on, I don't know, maybe T. Higgins or a Mike Evans this offseason. We'll see if they can get into the free agency business. But it's an exciting game against the Broncos, who are on a 5-game win streak. I think one of the better stories in the NFL right now, right up there with like the Indianapolis Colts, who are a playoff team right now. With this Broncos team, Russell Wilson's not lighting the world on fire, but he's showing up in the money places, third down, red zone, which he leads the NFL in red zone touchdowns. He's like third in third down completion percentage. So he's efficient when he needs to be. Still running around a little bit like a madman. I don't love that style for a 35-year-old quarterback, but when your defense is playing as well as they are, and Russell is just not turning the ball over and getting it done on those money downs, like I had said, it's a pretty good formula. And that defense is really clicking right now. I think in the 5-game win streak, they're plus 18 in turnover margin, have barely allowed any points. I don't think they allowed over 20 more than once or twice. So it's been a pretty cushy atmosphere for the offense to operate when a defense is playing so well. And it's a bit of a no-name defense. We all know they got rid of Von Miller, got rid of Randy Gregory, said bye to Frank Clark, Draymond Jones gone in the offseason. Outside of Patrick Surtain and Justin Simmons, I don't know if the average fan knows a lot of Denver Broncos. It's a bit of that Miami Dolphins no-name defense, from the 70s, where they're playing really good. And There's really not a lot of stars on that front seven, but they're playing good ball. Some guys like Nick Benito and Zach Allen playing really well. Those linebackers and Alex Singleton and Josie Jewell, not the most athletic in the pass game, but they will make every tackle in front of them, every tackle in the run game, every tackle sideline to sideline. So I think CJ Stroud's going to have his hands cut out for him, and his hands full this weekend against that Broncos defense. I think the Texans pull it out, but we'll see. It should be a fun
All
one.
right. Yeah, I think I really like the Texans this year. What CJ Stroud has done in that offensive line is absolutely amazing, and a surprise story nonetheless for the Denver Broncos to see them go far with Russ Wilson after their start last year. Sean Payne definitely huge. And before we let you go, you have some family watching, including your Uncle Bill. Anything you want to say to them right now?
Uncle Bill, I miss you. I hope you're doing well. Congratulations on once again acquiring another grandchild down the road here. So really excited for him with that recent news with his daughter Rachel and her husband. So really excited for that, and really interested to hear Uncle Bill's thoughts on this Packers team. I want to know if he has any hair left, and if he does, is it completely gray? I know Green Bay fans have had a bit of a different experience this season with the new quarterback and a bit of an unpredictable landscape ahead. But I missed Uncle Bill, just like I missed the rest of my family. It's crazy. We're sitting here in December. I haven't seen anybody for months. Somebody tell him I'll be there at Easter at some point. So I haven't seen Uncle Bill in a little bit since his wedding in the summer, but I certainly miss him.
Well, listen, Ben, I know you're a busy guy, and Eli and I can't thank you enough. We're kind of an upstart, but our following is growing, right? And that's part of it. And having an opportunity to have someone as successful as you on the show is a great thing for our show. And we couldn't appreciate having you on any more than you did. I really
love what you guys do, and I'm just a passionate sports fan like you guys. So anytime you want to come talk shop and talk ball and talk this industry, I'm always game for that. I love this stuff. I can't fake the enthusiasm. I am over the moon about football and everything I do in life. So this is easy for me. You want to talk football, talk what I do. This is great. It's always a reminder that, there's some long days. I have some bosses. Sometimes I want to pull my hair out, but it's just football. Life could be so much worse. So I'm really privileged and excited for what I do.
Well, again, we thank you very much for doing it. And you know what? You're going to be on this show again. I hope so.
Well, let's do it again. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Take care, guys. I'm off to NRG.
Yep.
All right. Have a good one.
See you, boy.
Okay. Thanks, Ben.
All right.
Wow, what a great guy, huh?
Yes, absolutely. He was a great guy, and thank you for tuning in and watching. And we do have some comments to catch up on. We have Adam Brook. He said, "Good morning to all," and from Eric and Gary W. Eagles 10-1. Good morning, gentlemen. And finally from Bill, that is Ben's uncle. Very proud of you, Ben. So that was the comments from everybody. So
that was terrific.
All that commented and all that's watching right now, thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
Excellent. That was great. That was great. He has that same passion that we have, Eli, about football. We could talk about it all day long,
Absolutely. All day long. And he proved everything right. And his career is so successful. And to hear his story, to see how proud he is and all the journeys that he has done, especially going to Africa, winning an Emmy, and now he's in Houston. So more to come from him. And we appreciate him for having him on the show.
You bet. You bet. So Eli, let's just go right back real quick to the monologue I wanted to bring up, because I was disappointed in Sports Illustrated's choice, and for the reason that he came in there and yes, he's taking advantage of the transfer portal. Excuse me. But I don't know that he contributed anything positive. I mean, he went in there and basically told 80 kids that were on that team from Colorado, you got to go somewhere else because I'm bringing in my 80. And that to me, it doesn't personify sportsman leadership to the point where he would be named. I mean, you could have other guys like, Nikolai Jokic, who leads the Denver Nuggets to their first NBA title ever in franchise history, and two-time MVP, should have been the MVP last year. Right. Or you could have had somebody like Ronald Acuna Jr., who had a monumental season in Major League Baseball that no one's ever had. Or you could have had DeMar Hamlin and the Buffalo Bills training staff. That would have been something that I think Sports Illustrated should have given a little bit more thought to that selection. That's just my
Absolutely.
opinion.
That's a good thought. And there was like a little bit of struggle that Sports Illustrated. I believe they were called with AI writers too. That was pretty interesting. And it's definitely an interesting road Sports Illustrated is definitely taking nowadays. And crazy week for them, nonetheless.
All right. Well, let's we got a lot of other stuff to talk about, but let's talk about the NFL, of course, right? Last week's picks, you and I were both 2-1.
Yes.
And that's respectable for sure, but we like to be 3-0. So let's get let's get to our picks this week. I got three games on tap for us, and game one is Indianapolis versus Tennessee. And like Ben brought up before, Indianapolis is kind of a surprise. They're in the playoff mix. In Tennessee, you can't figure them out. You know, Will Levis. But I'm actually going with Tennessee in this. I'm not completely sold on Indianapolis right now, so I'm going to go with Tennessee in that game. And second game, Detroit at New Orleans. And New Orleans is a hard team to figure out. Some weeks they play well, some weeks they don't. You know, I've never been a big Derek Carr guy, but I think Detroit's going to bounce back in a big way after that embarrassing loss on Thanksgiving last week. Right? That wasn't something that a lot of people have expected to see, but you know, their record on Thanksgiving is not well. So
I mean,
history
Thanksgiving's Thanksgiving.
Itself, right?
Right.
And then so let's talk. The final game is the game that Ben's going to be covering this week is Denver, Houston. And as you know, I've always been a big Russell Wilson supporter, and you know, he hasn't, you know, been playing up to his usual self, and you're right, he's getting up to be 35 years old. But I'm going to go with the Houston Texans to fully upset on this game this week. And like we talked about before, the surprise season that CJ Stroud is having, and out of that little draft class of Richardson and Bryce Young and so forth, he's clearly the leader for Rookie of the Year, and I think that he's going to take care of Denver this week.
Absolutely. So let me get to
what do you like in those three games?
Before I get to my picks, Guy Coriano made a comment. Good morning, boys. One of the sponsors. Thanks for watching. All right, to my picks. We'll start off with the Lions Saints. I'm not a huge fan of the Saints. I am of the Lions, so I'm going to take the Lions in this one, 26-23. Broncos, Texans, Houston's in favor by 3, according to the report yesterday. They're on CBS. I've always liked the Texans. I've always liked CJ Stroud, what he's been doing. So I'm going to take the Texans, 28-26. Russell Wilson can cook, definitely, but that Houston Texans team is something special. They're a playoff team, and I think they can do it. And they're going to win against the Denver Broncos, 28-26. Finally, Colts, Titans. Ben mentioned a lot about the Colts. But let's talk about the Titans for a second. They have not lost one home game yet this season. They've lost every away game this season, on the other hand. They are home this weekend, the Tennessee Titans. That's going to give them the advantage. So although Indianapolis is great, I'm going to take the Titans, 31-28 as my final. So I'm taking the Lions, Texans, Titans for my 3-game picks this week.
Well, we're either going to sink or swim together because we got the same selection this week.
Absolutely.
All right, so that's cool, and like I said, the NFL is starting to, get down the stretch, and each win is important, each loss is even bigger, and we'll keep an eye on this, and the whole situation in New York with Tommy DeVito, he's finally getting his shot. And he actually was signing autographs right up the street from where I live last week, and
wow, yeah, I saw it. I thought it was Sea Caucus. It was
in Wayne.
Oh, wow.
In Wayne.
It's pretty impressive. Well, just two things I want to add real quick. Jonathan Taylor is going to be out 2 to 3 weeks, according for an injury that we did mention that. We did have our first ever Monday night flex. The Eagles and the Seahawks will now be playing on Monday night. The Patriots Chiefs will now move to 1 o'clock on Fox on Sunday. They originally had the Monday night slot. We will have 3 Saturday games on NFL Network on Saturday, including the Minnesota Vikings at the Cincinnati Bengals at 1 o'clock. Steelers at the Colts at 4:30, and Broncos Lions, an epic game at night at 8:15 p.m. And the 3-time Pro Bowl wide receiver standout, Deshaun Jackson, is officially retired with the Eagles. He'll be the honorary captain this weekend versus the 49ers. And what happened with Panthers? The Panthers fired their head coach, Frank Reich, for that loss to the Titans the other week. So that is gone. New coaching changes all around. But the question arises, was it really the coach or was it really the quarterback? I see as a very young quarterback, and only time will tell and answer that question, as the Panthers have a tough matchup this weekend against the Buccaneers in Tampa Bay, a division rival.
They do.
So, yes.
You got it. Right.
Yes.
All right. So listen, let's touch base on college football because this is a big weekend.
That was a week.
And,
last night was huge.
Last night was huge. And, I've been on the Oregon bandwagon for a while. I thought they actually outplayed Washington the first time they met, but they met last night for the Pac-12 championship. And, listen, so that probably cost Bo Nix any possibility of winning the Heisman Trophy.
Right.
And that kind of elevates Michael Penix back into the conversation. So that was a big win for Washington. And basically that puts Oregon out of the picture because we're still not 100% decided on who the final four teams are going to be.
Right.
And we got a big game today with Alabama trying to make their case.
That is a great game.
The only way they can make their case is to beat Georgia, who hasn't lost in 29 consecutive games.
And Georgia's home. They'll be in Atlanta, the game. So that is huge.
Yep. So that's a huge.
I picked Washington to beat Oregon. And on yesterday's show, 12th Horseshoe, the show I'm also on. I picked the Washington, so I was happy for Washington to win. Huge game on the Pac-12. What a game that was, and huge victory in Las Vegas. And also 76 is named the title sponsor for the Birmingham Bowl, which will take place on December 23rd, a Saturday, on ABC at noon. So just in case if anybody's interested, they'll be named 76, the gas station company.
Okay. Well, listen, we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about the Ohio State-Michigan game last week, which was
crazy.
As advertised, great game, but Michigan prevails for the third straight year over Ryan Day in Ohio State. And I kind of texted somebody and I said, Ryan Day has to be a little bit nervous about his job because beating Michigan is paramount in that rivalry, and he's gone 0 for 3.
Absolutely. That was huge.
1 and 3.
1 and 3. There you go.
Right. And how about the ending to that Alabama-Auburn game? That puts that puts Jalen Milroe right back into the Heisman discussion because that was an absolute miracle and great game. And Alabama has come on after kind of a slow start. Unsettled quarterback situation, but Milroe is the guy. And, a lot of things have to happen, but I think Michigan can easily handle Iowa today in the Big Ten championship. So they'll be in. It looks like Washington has to be one of those 4 teams as well. And then the other spots, if Georgia wins today, I think Georgia is in the mix whether they win or lose today.
Right.
So there's really kind of like one kind of open spot, and I don't know who's going to get it.
Yeah, it'll be very huge, a game to watch. Tough. It was great to see everything that happened. It's really cool.
Yeah. So let's real quick talk about like I said, college basketball is underway, and the number 1 team gets knocked off last night. Northwestern beats Purdue. And again, college basketball, the number 1 team seems to always be the target of things. So we're going to see this throughout the season. There doesn't seem to be one absolute team because Kansas already lost and Purdue has lost. So college basketball is going to be very, very exciting this year, and
absolutely
a lot of parity in college basketball.
100%. It'll be very huge to watch. Can't wait to see it all come on down.
You got it, right? So let's move on. We'll jump into our random points of interest, which, of course, is sponsored by Lynch Toyota of Manchester, Connecticut. And just a couple little quick notes, Eli.
Yes.
LeBron James passed Kareem Abdul-Jabbar for the most games played in NBA history. Obviously, already the scoring champ, but it's not really a relevant thing. But it just tells you that it's hard to believe LeBron James has been in this league for 20 years now, and he's still playing at an elite level. It's kind of weird.
Wow. Yeah. It's
Couple other quick things.
Yeah.
Right? Couple of other quick things. So looks like when we talked last year, the Rangers made a late season acquisition of Patrick Kane, but he ends up signing with the Red Wings. And again, you don't know whether or not that's a good move or a bad move.
Well,
is he healthy, not healthy?
Let's start with this. The Red Wings, keep in mind, they played with Patrick Kane. Once they signed, they played right away at Madison Square Garden. So it was a swap of a bench for Patrick Kane. He was on the Detroit side, not the Rangers side. And it looks like it wasn't the right decision. It was 3-2 final. Rangers win that game. So Patrick Kane is Patrick Kane. He'll be that, I guess you could say, the player that goes up and down. He'll go to one team at one point, do good for so long, then, hey, I want to move along. He's one of those guys like that.
Yeah. Well, he's coming to the end of his career anyway. But
yeah, so now the question is, where does he want to retire?
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
But one other quick hockey note, it was a strange story with Corey Perry, who's been a long-time player in this league. He's got a couple of Stanley Cups.
Right.
But this whole situation, the Chicago Blackhawks just can't seem to get out of the limelight. There's always seems something that's going on there, right? I mean, the good side of it is Connor Bedard, and hopefully he's going to be that kind of a player. But the situation with Corey Perry, he came out and publicly apologized, so we know he's in the wrong about something, which we don't know any details, but it was bad enough that they terminated his contract. So we'll keep an eye on that story because I'm sure there's more to it,
Yeah. I have a few random points I'll bring up real quick. New Jersey Devils, Dougie Hamilton is out indefinitely with a torn pectoral muscle. It is questionable for his return to the Devils. That is a crucial player. The Devils did lose last night to the San Jose Sharks 6-3, but did win to the Flyers in overtime 4-3 with the Jack Hughes to Luke Hughes overtime winning goal.
Yes, the brother combination. Right.
Brother combination. New Jersey's Brendan Smith has been suspended for 2 games after slashing Philadelphia's Travis Konecny. He has also been fined $5,000 by the National Hockey League. John Hines has been named the 7th coach in the Wild history. So he'll be going to the Minnesota Wild. He started there. He was a former Predators coach and Devils coach. He has now moved on to there. Devils have also received Arnold, and they received some guys with the trade with the Islanders for Tyce Thompson. So there's been some trades going on there. Mark Cuban bought the Mavericks back in 2000. He has finally sold them for $3.5 billion. And
I was just going to bring that. I was just going to bring that up.
Shark Tank after 16 seasons of doing Shark Tank. So a lot happened in 2 days for him. He got rid of the Mavericks, and after 16 seasons of Shark Tank, he says goodbye. That is Mark Cuban. A busy week for Mark Cuban. We don't know full reasons why. Finally, TNT and ESPN will be merging for the NBA in-season tournament special coverage. The normal Inside the NBA crew of Ernie, Chuck, Kenny, and Shaq will be joined alongside ESPN's Stephen A. Smith and Michael Wilbon. So they'll be joining in. Plus, you'll have some play-by-play and analyst crew joining in as well during the combined game. More details are announced on the Warner Brothers Twitter, Twitter account, whatever you like to call it, as well as the ESPN PR room as well.
Good. Okay. I got a couple other quick ones I wanted to bring up. The Mets signed Luis Severino to a 1-year, $13 million contract, which to me, I don't know if it makes sense. I think they could have got him at a much lower price, but we don't know whether or not, he's going to ever be the pitcher we had thought he was going to be with the Yankees, but now he signs with the Mets. So the Mets are starting to, try to figure out how to right the ship after a disastrous year.
Absolutely.
And, we always talk about high school football here in New Jersey.
I was just going to mention that.
Yeah, so Bergen Catholic, which has been the #1 team all along, ranked nationally.
Yeah.
They took care of business. They win the Group A championship in Giant Stadium this week,
Yep.
and that was big. And Red Bank Catholic beats DePaul in the
Yes.
Group B parochial thing. So we said it all along. I mean, I'm obviously a St. Joe's guy, but I can't deny the season that Bergen Catholic has had. So
Oh, yeah.
they went out and finished the job.
I'm St. Mary's, but I know for sure that Bergen Catholic is the #1 team in New Jersey, and they are the team to beat no matter what. What they have done all season long is incredible. They gave the school no school, saying there was gonna be snowing the next day. So shame on Bergen Catholic. That's what they do when you win a championship, I guess. But interesting riding. #1 team. It's absolutely
There was
the Bergen Catholic.
So
Crusaders.
listen, we covered a lot of stuff here today, and
Yeah.
again, we got to do our movie recommendation, and
Yes.
of course now we're getting into the holiday season, so
We gotta have a movie, a Christmas movie.
right. So I'm gonna start off with one of my favorites, Elf, with Will Ferrell.
Yeah.
I mean,
Mine.
it's classic.
Yeah, I had to start off with Home Alone. Home Alone is obviously an icon. Macaulay Culkin, he finally got a star on the Walk of Fame yesterday. So I would say Home Alone because he got the star yesterday, and it is an iconic movie. More than 4 movies, 2 with Macaulay Culkin, and more on. They had I think they're up to 5 now or 6. Home Alone 5 or 6 they're up to. And I think 1 to 4 is on Disney Plus for those if you're interested. But
What they got 4 Home Alone movies already?
I believe there's 5 total right now.
Well,
I know the first 3.
obviously,
I know the first 3.
The best one was the first one.
First one. The first one's always the best. I also like the third one. I like the third one. It didn't feature Macaulay Culkin, but it was a great one, the third one.
Okay.
Yeah.
But when you have a movie like Elf, Will Ferrell is so funny, and
absolutely.
one of my
Right in New
all-time
York?
favorite guys was
Absolutely.
Bob Newhart. Bob Newhart's in that too.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
a big Bob Newhart fan.
We'll have more Christmas from the next 3 weeks to come before the holidays kick off.
We certainly will. So, Eli, we got to move on to our notable passing segment.
We got a lot.
And, we got a few of them here. They're none from the world of sports, but let's just go down the list. If you're from the New York area, you certainly know who Pablo Guzman was. He was a reporter for Fox News for many, many years, and he passed away. He was 74 years old, but he was one of those familiar faces in New York media and New York news for many, many years, and wanted to make sure we mentioned him.
Yeah.
And of course, from the world of politics, Henry Kissinger passes away at the age of 100. And there's a lot, listen, a lot of people have different opinions on Henry Kissinger. I don't think anybody could deny how intellectually smart he was and how important he was in politics. And, he worked for a couple different presidents, but, I just saw an interview with him probably 3-4 weeks ago. I don't know when it was taped, but you could see that he was in ill health, but very, very smart man, very, very influential. Right. And, a lot of people have different opinions on him, but you can't deny he had an impact in governmental policy for the United States.
Absolutely.
100 years old.
Yes.
He made it to, right? And also yesterday there was another loss, and certainly notable. First woman on the Supreme Court was Sandra Day O'Connor. She passed away at 93 years old. She was on the bench for 25 years, and that kind of opened the door. We've had several women are now on the Supreme Court because of her. She was selected back in the Ronald Reagan days, and that was certainly notable. She was 93 years old. She's been in ill health for a long time, but you can't deny her impact as well. So, did I miss anybody, Eli?
We had Frances Steringham from Misery and Sex and the City. She died at the age of 93. Producer of Land and Lost, King of Saturday Mornings, has died at the age of 86 as well. I believe.
Who's that? That was Marty Croft.
Yes, Marty Croft. Yes, indeed. Yeah, those are the 2 that I had.
Okay.
Yeah. Those are your list.
Okay, well, listen,
What a
I
great
think
show.
it was a great show today, and
Absolutely.
I really want to thank Ben Fennell for joining
Yes.
the show, and Eli and I are going to start to ramp up and get some more guests, but Ben will absolutely be a return guest on this show, and
Just like Garda. We cannot thank them enough.
absolutely.
That was
So
awesome.
listen, we always love the comments you folks send us, and I get emails from loyal listeners at sportswithmano@gmail.com, and got a lot of good feedback on our
Yeah.
Hall of Fame segment last week. Jim Walsh from Long Island actually agreed with all of our picks about maybe
Yeah.
the one that should get in was Beltray, and everybody else, I don't think so, kind of thing. So, Jim,
Right.
thanks for that comment, and I appreciate it very much. Jim listens every week, and he offers
Absolutely.
the support of Jeremy and everybody else, and wishing my brother Steve all the best in his recovery, and things are coming along. So,
Yeah.
good show, Eli.
Thank you.
And
Yes,
I
absolutely.
appreciate you arranging that. And I actually had a chance to meet Eli and his dad for lunch
Yes.
last week, and it was excellent. So, David, great to meet you, and you and your son. We got a lot of unfinished business to do. So
Absolutely.
we're gonna make this show a topic of water cooler discussions at
Yeah,
times.
absolutely.
Right?
For all that watch, thank you again for so much for watching. And to all that commented, thank you again. This is only the beginning with all more fun interviews to come.
Yep. So, Eli, thank you. You have a great rest of your weekend. Enjoy the games tomorrow. And
Yes.
thank to all of our loyal listeners. And we'll be back same time next week.
Yes, absolutely. Have a great one, everyone.
You too.